Welcome into Citizen Sports Talk. Kaden Reinhard here with Jacob Smith. Kind of getting finally into that spring weather. Weather's starting to finally turn our way. We'll start in Carroll County this week with our action on a little Saturday game action for Carroll County baseball. They picked up their first victory of the year, 4-2 over the Christiansburg Blue Devils. So for Carroll County baseball, they're 1-1, but one thing that's kind of impressed me a lot, just that pitching. They've only allowed 6 runs over their first 2 games, so that first game was a really low-scoring loss for them, and they picked up that offense a little bit, but that pitching still shined against Christiansburg on Saturday. But then, unfortunately, going into Tuesday for the Cavaliers, that streak of the the defensive pitching, I will say, kind of I think ended. They traveled up to Northside, or they hosted Northside, but they did lose 16-3 at home there. So the offense still able to get them a couple runs, but that pitching was a little rough against the Vikings of Northside. And then as well for the Cavaliers on Tuesday, their soccer team lost their second matchup of the year against the Abingdon Eagles. Actually got a goal against Abingdon. Unfortunately, they didn't in their first game against Pulaski, so trying to get some offensive momentum going for the Cavaliers there on the pitch.
Yeah, talking about the baseball, congrats to them on their first win. Didn't respond to it very well, unfortunately, Tuesday with that loss against Northside. But transitioning to some Floyd County action also from Tuesday, Kaden. 3-0 loss for girls varsity soccer, the return of Lady Buff Soccer. I believe this is the first time they've had a program in 3 or 4 years. So just happy to see them out on the pitch this year and playing some contests here in 2026. Talking about some different success or varying results, if you will. Both teams able to come away with a win, but starting off with the Lady Buff softball, 22-1 victory at Narrows. They start the season 2-0, and coming off the Christiansburg game last week, 15-7 was the score there. They're averaging, about 17, 18 runs a game in their first 2 games or first 2 contests this year. And then for baseball, a 12-5 victory against Pulaski County to get their first win of the season, coming off a 9-6 loss against Bassett last week. And it just so happened to be the first win under new head coach Bill Miller. And talking with Coach Miller after the game Tuesday, our newest addition to the CCTV team, Colton Marshall.
Welcome you back to Floyd County High School. This is Colton Marshall. I'm here with Coach Bill Miller, coming off his first victory as head coach. So, Coach, what do you have to say about it?
Well, it's really exciting. We got a really, really good group of kids, some 7 seniors, and we have a chance to be pretty good. And this is just his first start, so we're excited about it, and already looking forward and talking about Patrick County on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a big win for y'all. And talking about those seniors, like Isaiah and Mason coming back. Mason stepping up for Aiden Bakley today when he went down, and he made a lot of great plays today. So what do you have to say about your senior leadership so far?
Yeah, our senior leadership's unbelievable. We don't do anything we don't have captains because we have 7 seniors that are all capable of leading. And you talk about Mason stepping up today, and I've known Mason for a while. He's a baseball guy. I've never seen him play second base before, but he had to in a pinch, and he did fine. Hit the ball well and came in on the mound and shut the door for us. It was good stuff.
Yeah. So talking about Patrick County and looking ahead, what's your thoughts going into the rest of the week with the 2 games coming up, and how do you feel about that going into this week?
No, I feel good. I feel better coming off a win than I would have otherwise. But Patrick County kind of been the king of the Three Rivers District in baseball for the last few years. So we'll obviously come in riding high, and we get them right here at home. So that's a good thing. We got through the night with 3 pitchers, so we should have plenty of arms available for Thursday. So we're excited and looking for another W.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely, Colton. Thank you.
Thank you, Colton. Thank you, Coach Miller. We're going to take a quick break about halfway through the week, and when we come back, finish up the week Wednesday through Friday, then preview next week for you on CCTV, Channel 20. Welcome back to Citizen Sports Talk. About midway through our week now, heading back down to Carroll County, down 221. Just one game on Wednesday for Carroll County softball, picking up a big victory, 17-6 for them in Fort Chiswell. They hit the road for their contest. Their first matchup against Pulaski, that offense was already there. It showed, I think, 9 runs they put up. So finally putting a little bit more. That defensive in the circle, the standpoint, kept a little more runs off for Fort Chiswell. So good victory for first of the year for the Carroll County softball team. And then transitioning to Thursday, a couple games on the pitch for the Cavaliers. Boys soccer, they're finally getting out of that losing spell. Not quite a win, but they tied 1-1 with Galax. So starting to kind of build that momentum back closer to a victory for their first of the year.
Halfway there, right?
That's right, halfway there. I mean, hey, you got to tie some, so maybe win some eventually. But then for the girls, they start off on the correct spell if you want to. First game of the year, first victory of the year for them. They picked up the 3-0 victory over the Galax Maroon Tide as well.
Absolutely. Transitioning to some more soccer action for Floyd County now. Both boys and girls took on the Patrick County Cougars. A lot of Cougar action this week. Some Pulaski, some Patrick. Definitely not confusing at all, is it? So for the boys soccer, they traveled to Stewart to take on the Cougars and came away with a 5-0 victory. They start the season 2-0. As for the girls, they were unable to pick up their first win. They start the season 0-2, a 5-1 loss at home versus the Cougars. And talking again more Patrick action for the Buffaloes on Thursday. You hinted at it when we read off what was coming up this week when we had last week's episode. Lady Buff softball starting the season 3-0 now, a 9-0 victory over the Cougars. I believe 6 of those runs coming in the 6th inning, so really able to seal the deal late. As for the Buffaloes, for baseball, probably the game of the week. I think we could agree on that. Maybe not if you don't like high-scoring or if you don't like low-scoring baseball games if you're watching from home. But, yeah, low-scoring to say the least because we ended the game on the lone score of the game, right? Isn't that right, Kaden?
We did, and it was honestly, it was out of nowhere. I mean, you're expecting a game that's going into extras 0-0. You're not expecting one swing of the bat to end it like that. And going back to last week, we talked about those 3 home runs in the Bassett game. None of those would have left the old dimensions at the Floyd County baseball field, but I don't think Adam Petty would have had any problem doing that against the Cougars Friday.
Yeah, when it ends up in the track, definitely doing something right at the Floyd County High School baseball field. It just kind of the build up to that. A lot of momentum was swaying in Floyd's direction. They had bases loaded in the top of the 3rd, able to leave runners stranded with a double play. And then Coach Miller talks about it with Colton. We'll transition to that momentarily. But talking about the pitching, Gavin Swartzel had 7 amazing innings on the mound, and then Mason Cochran comes in the extra frame to close things out. And then first pitch of the bottom of the 8th, Adam Petty gets the job done.
He did, and there was a big celebration at home, rightfully so, for all the Buffaloes coming out to meet him as soon as he crossed home plate.
Absolutely. Big win last week when Colton, or earlier in the week on Tuesday when Colton talked with Coach Miller. The terminology "Kings of the Three Rivers" was mentioned talking about Cougars baseball. So here's Coach Miller again with Colton after they dethrone the, quote, Kings of the Three Rivers.
Welcome you back to Floyd County High School. I'm here with head coach Bill Miller. And start off, it's a huge win for Floyd County. So just early on, what's your thoughts of the game so far?
Pitching, and more pitching from both sides. Obviously, Gavin Swartzel was really, really good for us, and their guy was really good as well. Not to forget about the job Mason Cochran did at the end. Mason was really good too. was a really well-pitched game all around. We got some help from an umpire that had a big strike zone, but both pitchers on both sides really took advantage of it, and that's what you're supposed to do. It was a clean game, too, for the most part, and I think as a coach, that's what you like more than anything. We had a couple little hiccups on some pickoff plays at first, and Zay bobbled a bunt late, but for the most part, it was really, really clean game on both sides, which that's what you really like to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now talking about Gavin and Mason, Gavin pitched over 90 pitches, and then Mason comes in here late, and the bases are loaded. So it's looking like Patrick's finally going to break open the scoring, but Buffaloes are able to hold on and keep it to 0. So what's your thoughts on that with how the Buffaloes are able to recover there?
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way to say it. We were pretty fortunate in that spot. I mean, they got them loaded with nobody out, and the numbers say 90+% of the time you're scoring at least a run. You're going to give up at least a run there. And we got really fortunate. That kid hit the ball really hard right at our first baseman, and we got a double play out of it. And then Mason, like I said, Mason was a bulldog. He threw 19 pitches, 13 of them for strikes. He was really good, and he deserved. I'm glad we got out of that bases loaded jam, because he would have deserved better than losing the game in that spot. So really proud of him. Coming in cold, he barely, just the way the lineup fell, he barely got time to get loose, came in cold, and started pounding the strike zone, which is what we wanted. So it was great. Good stuff.
Yeah. And then lastly, biggest play of the game, Adam Petty walk-off home run. I mean, we can't even find the last time Floyd County beat Patrick. So just coming off this high, what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, I hope this doesn't make me sound like a jerk or cocky or anything, but when the pitcher that they brought in and having Adam Petty and Dakin Slaughter up in that situation, I felt pretty good about our chances. Did not expect him to hit a ball that landed on the track, but I felt like we were in a really good spot there, especially after we had a ton of momentum after getting out of that bases loaded jam. Yeah. Momentum was definitely on our side, and we had two of our best, if not our two best bats coming up. Really happy for Adam. Really happy for Adam. He would probably tell you before that hit, he did not have a very good game offensively, but he's pretty tough on himself, so I'm really happy for him.
Yeah.
Happy for all the guys. It was good. It was great, man.
Yeah, well, great game, Coach, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Once again, thank you, Colton. Thank you, Coach Miller. And the Buffaloes continue their action. We'll get into their Friday game momentarily, but starting in Hillsville, this Cougar series, this time with Pulaski, continues. As for starting at the pitch for soccer, Carroll County boys soccer traveled to Dublin to take on the Cougars. They lost 3-0, so they still unable to get their first win of the season this time as we're recording. As for the Lady Cavaliers soccer, they lost their first game, or with their first loss of the season, 1-0 at home against the Cougars. As for softball, it was not the best conditions, which I would say that for sure for the girls soccer match as well. Heavy precipitation in the fifth and final inning as Carroll County softball unfortunately gets slaughtered by the Cougars last night. 11-0 was the final score, but the first inning had a lot to do with it. 8 of those 11 runs were scored in the top of the first. So the Cougars dominate the Cavaliers in softball twice in the span of a week. And wrapping up with some Floyd County action. Boys soccer traveling to Auburn to take on the Eagles and lost 6-0, their first loss of the season. And wrapping action up this week, Kaden, a 10-7 victory for boys Buffaloes baseball in Galax, their first road contest of the season, believe it or not. And they, after losing to Bassett last week in their season opener 9-6, coming away this week with 3 wins in 3 games.
It's definitely been a great turnaround for the Buffaloes, and we mentioned they started their season against the Bassett Bengals. They're 5-0. That's a great ball team. So you know, you kind of look past that. Obviously, even just the start of the year, it can be a slow start for baseball anyway. So just the way they've compiled, you know, especially putting up 1 run against Patrick, then you turn around 10 runs the following day against Galax. It's just been I think it's going to be a great team this year.
Yeah, winning in different ways. They scored 12 runs against Pulaski Tuesday. I don't think they even had a home run. And then you have a solo home run to seal the deal, the lone run of the game Thursday, and then transitioning to the game last night, another double-digit run total to end the week.
Never, for baseball, you're reaching that double-digit mark, you're doing something right.
Unless you're giving up just as many runs and more, right?
That's right, but if you're doing that, I guess the offensive prowess, you know, you got it. So pitchers, it's always a weird dynamic with baseball.
All right, so talking about some more baseball, softball, boys and girls soccer, Kaden, tell us all the action that we should be expecting the week before Easter.
Yeah, so like you said, starting before Easter, getting into April now, we'll start with the Carroll County Cavaliers on Monday, March 30th. So wrapping up that month, it'll be softball, junior varsity, and varsity taking on Tazewell. It'll be varsity hosts Tazewell while JV travels to Tazewell. And then boys and girls tennis varsity, they both have their matches on Monday as well. Girls will head down to Pulaski while the boys host Grayson and Carroll. Then on Wednesday, get that Tuesday off. So starting on April 1st, softball junior varsity will host Chilhowie while varsity travels down to Chilhowie for their matchups against them. While boys varsity tennis has a match on the midweek day against Patrick. They'll host them in Hillsville, while soccer, they have their quad on Wednesday in the middle of the week against Patrick as well. So a little bit of Cougar matchup for the Cavaliers. Next week has the Buffaloes faced them this week. So the boys, they'll host Patrick while the girls soccer travels down to Stewart for that matchup. And then ending the week for the Cavaliers on Thursday, boys and girls outdoor track will travel down to Patrick Henry for their invitational there, while girls tennis heads down to Stewart for their matchup against Patrick. And then another kind of quad for Carroll County Athletics for next week against Patrick. They'll all head down, the baseball and softball team will all head down to Patrick, junior varsity through varsity for both baseball and softball for ending the week for the Cavaliers. And then on the Buffaloes side, kind of a front-loaded week for the Buffaloes. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, pretty heavy, but then the end of the week is a little more chill for them. So on Monday the 30th, getting things started, middle school baseball and softball will host Carroll at the Floyd County Rec Park here in town, while junior varsity baseball heads to Auburn for their matchup against the Eagles. Then varsity softball stays in Floyd. They get to host Narrows here, and then ending Monday off, junior varsity boys soccer heads down the road to George Wythe for their matchup. Then heading down to Tuesday, last day of March. So for junior varsity and varsity baseball for the Buffaloes, they get to match up against Bassett once again. So varsity, they get to head down, return that favor. Hopefully, Bassett took the Buffaloes down in Floyd. Maybe the Buffaloes can do the same in Bassett. JV, they get to host Bassett, the Bengals, this time in Floyd on Tuesday. And then ending that kind of Tuesday up, kind of two boys matches, soccer and tennis. Soccer gets to host Auburn in Floyd, while tennis hosts Marion up above the high school. Then on Wednesday, that last busy day for the Buffaloes, boys and girls outdoor track, they get to host here in Floyd, their track meet of the year. And then softball and baseball middle school get a second matchup of the week against Pulaski, so they'll head up to Dublin for that. Then varsity baseball for the Buffaloes, they get to host Rappahannock here in Floyd. And then girls soccer travels down towards past Carroll County. They'll take on Giles there, they'll travel up 460 to take on Giles there. And then ending the week for the Buffaloes, pretty chaotic start, easy end just on Thursday. They'll also head up to Patrick Henry, same track meet the Cavaliers will be in on Thursday.
You mentioned it, a lot of action early in the week, Kaden. A lot that's going to be neat, or that we'll need to recap next week. Hopefully a lot of exciting, because this week a lot of excitement. Obviously, 2 big wins, or 3 big wins if you count the Galax win Friday for the Buffaloes. Softball, they're still undefeated. Definitely a topic of conversation for Floyd County. And let's just see how things go this time next week. We'll be back same time, same place, same channel. Here, Jacob Smith, Kaden Reinhard, thank you for watching CCTV Channel 20.